How's it going, everybody? So the Centurion rework has been around a few weeks now and the reception has been generally positive. The character is a viable pick now and you can see him plenty in general matchmaking as well as in scrims and tournaments now. He's a pretty versatile pick as he can be a substitute mid clearer, he can one-on-one people, has decent chase, but most noticeably he has amazing ganks. These facts are also represented in the new tier list that has been released by a few competitive players. I will link to it in the video description should you be interested. So today we're going to take a closer look at exactly these ganks and why they are so potent and some of them outright unhealthy for the game. We'll get to that in just a bit. I've made multiple ganking tutorials, the most recent one still being very relevant, so if you haven't seen that one, you might want to take a look as a basic understanding of the mechanics in play is very much needed. The goal when making these instructional videos is always that people understand what's behind all it. I don't want you to simply copy what you see, but actually be able to make out why it all works. That way you can build upon it further on your own, as it's almost impossible on a topic like this one today for me to list every single possible instance that involves every single character and their respective combinations. Having said that, the main two things you need to understand are the two building blocks that make up a gank with Centurion. There is for one his pin and then his punch. Both the charged as well as uncharged one. Both can confirm further damage and just need to be used in the correct situation. Just last week I've released a video about damage reduction. Most people were already aware of how this works, but it is very prevalent here as Centurion's pin can mess with this. Multi-hit damage reduction is one of the reasons you see people feed insane amounts of revenge while barely doing any damage. Centurion's pin, well, all pins actually have the unique property of resetting hit stun. This subsequently means that it also resets the damage reduction, so follow-up attacks aren't mitigated and high damage ganks are easier. Setting up for pins is being done, as you might have guessed already, by hit stun. If you look at the sequence of all ganks that I'm going to show you, you always want Centurion's pin to hit as a second attack, preferably, but not necessarily, after a heavy. The second building block are his punches. You want to set up these with either block, parry or hit stun. You do not want to do it with a bash. Bashes are not a setup tool for other bashes. This especially goes for you gladiator players. Your toe stab is not a good tool here. Shocking, I know, but to get the knockdown from Centurion's charge punch, your bashes and toe stab are not the best choice. And neither are GBs. If the guard break isn't countered, it's fine, but a counter guard break prevents a knockdown. You're basically taking a gamble as you never know whether your opponent is actually trying to dodge. So how do we combine these now? A lot of people just play matchmaking and the means of communication are limited. You can never be sure what your sent teammate is going to do, so you can just hope that he's going to fully charge his jab when you're close by. Your best bet is to use lights to block stun your opponent, so he can't dodge the punch. Timing wise, you wait a bit and then light. If the opponent dodges on early timing, then the charged punch from the send will track him anyways. You want to block stun late, so you stop them from dodging at the correct timing. This is extremely basic and not really all that effective, but better than wildly throwing attacks. Should you play with friends and actually want to coordinate, these are the most common ganks. Deciding when to use which needs to happen on the fly. Opponents will try to defend themselves, so be prepared to switch it up. Like I said before, basic ganking knowledge is required. Getting GBs from blocked lights or GB in recoveries, you should know how to do that. We'll get to GBs in just a second. The first full gank I want to show is from Centurion's kick. This one can be performed with every hero that has a heavy into light chain. The Centurion kicks into light, then fully charges his punch. Their partner throws a heavy off-landed kick and then chains into light. The light will block or hit stun, which ultimately confirms the full charged punch. Then follow up accordingly. Congratulations, you just 100 to 0'd every single hero in the game while not giving a full revenge bar. Now you have multiple heroes with different attack speeds. Heavies are slower, some lights are faster, delay windows between attacks are different. This is where practice comes into play. Always pressing the buttons at the same time leads to slight variations in regards to when attacks connect. So you need to adjust accordingly, or people will be able to dodge out of it. Also remember that you can be parried, which first of all takes away damage, as well as feeds more revenge. This is especially relevant when you need to vary with your attacks. As you can see, PK needs to throw 2 heavies because she doesn't have a heavy to light combo. Let's do it the other way around then. Let's say you have a bash and want to initiate for your teammate who's playing Centurion. You bash into your follow-up attack. The hit stun from your follow-up allows the Centurion to pin the opponent. As I've explained before, the pin resets the hit stun. This allows for a heavy into blockable or parryable light, which in turn confirms the fully charged punch from Centurion, then follow up with whatever your highest damaging attack is. Slight variation when it comes to Warlord, because you can't chain directly out of the bash follow-up. Your heavy can be late, as the pin timing won't always be exactly the same, so you can throw light into light as well to confirm the punch. Like I explained before, the order of attacks is important, especially with slower attacks who don't directly combo. At the end there, just imagine me not hitting Froggy, but the opponent. So far I've shown you ganks that are initiated by you, but a lot of the time you also have very aggressive players, so adjusting accordingly, you can go into ganks from defensive moves as well. Full blocks actually offer quite a nice opportunity. Let's start with Conqueror again. Imagine trying to remove a Lawbringer from mid lane who repeatedly unlocks zones. This is what you can do. As you can see, even with slightly mistimed pins, you can still 100 to 0 a Lawbringer. Also keep in mind that full block riposts, especially on Conk and Warlord, can be delayed massively, so Centurion can do this on reaction to seeing the opponent being full blocked. This comes down to communication again, whatever timing is preferred. On Warlord you can do it with a normal light riposte or the headbutt riposte. Keep in mind that the headbutt is not always guaranteed, especially on moves like Lawbringer Zone. Other than that, the gank is pretty straightforward, very similar to initiating it from a headbutt. Aramusha can do this as well and has a shit ton more damage. I'm aware that I don't really show Centurion's side of the gank a lot here, but it's pretty straightforward each time. You try and pin on the initial hit stun of whatever move your teammate provides, and then go into fully charged punch. It's up to you to practice the timing. Most of these can be done on reaction to seeing the full blocks, especially if they are slightly delayed. Once again, communicate with each other. Most of you are aware that you can get a GB if your teammate blocks a light, so setting up this gank from GBs is also pretty easy. Well, for most heroes, some are finicky. First, not the Centurion, but the teammate gets the GB. For characters that get a heavy off guard break, it's pretty easy. We're following the same rules as before. Heavy confirms pin, pin confirms additional heavy. Depending on speed of attacks, you might need to delay certain combos. Warlord, for example, you can see how I delay my initial heavy quite a bit. PK has a special GB punish, so it is extremely easy for Centurion to time his pin. And because the opponent is bleeding, PK's lights are enhanced, so she has an extremely easy time keeping the opponent in place. Once again the reminder, these attacks can be parried, but their job is to prevent the target from dodging. What you also need to keep in mind is to not hit your fellow Centurion out of his punish. Some attacks have big sweeping hitboxes. For Shaman, for example, you should choose the heavy away from your partner. Zerka is a bit of a special case, as he can get all 3 heavies from a GB if timed correctly. Once again, first heavy confirms pin, pin confirms second heavy, but this time you don't charge your punch, just throw out an uncharged one. This confirms Zerka's third heavy. Now for a problem you can run into. You don't get a heavy off GB. Raid is a good example here. The chain you want is light heavy light, but he doesn't have that. So you light off GB to confirm the pin, then the pin confirms your heavy. Now you sadly can't confirm the charged punch. But you can do light light into heavy or unblockable. Important part here is to delay the second light a bit. A normal punch from Centurion will now confirm the follow-up. On parries on the other hand, the timing is perfect for Raider. You can see how just a tiny variation in timing makes other things possible. Other way around now for GBs. Centurion gets the guard break. This now requires trust in your teammate and proper reactions. Principle is the same again. Heavy confirms pin, pin confirms heavy, and so on. This time, because of different timings, the fully charged punch can be confirmed. Also remember that Cent has his punches from GB. This allows characters like Gladiator to initiate their own pin. This is quite a finicky one. 2 skewer ticks into dodge light, pin resets hit stun, skewer takes over, immediately dodge light out of it to remove the pin effect. You cannot punch someone who's pinned, he won't fall down. Then follow up when the opponent's on the ground. Now for some combos with existing ganks. Long arm has a few. You can long arm off every pin. Wall splats or otherwise set up pins work just fine. You can either go for 2 heavies and be safe, or if you want to make it fancy, you can do the following. After the long arm, the Centurion causes an early wake up. This is important. The Lawbringer does nothing and waits until the target fully stood up. Now you confirm the punch by block stunning with a sidelight. Tracking might fuck you over as you can see in the clip, but this is the easiest way to confirm an additional knockdown from a long arm. Now the Zerker counter guard break gank, you can block stun for a knockdown after the pin. Sadly, the recovery to throw a heavy is too long to actually confirm it from the pin. We also tried a few obscure ones with Valkyrie sweep. After landing a bash light, the Cent can confirm the sweep with a pin. Depending on who the Valk sweeps, the punish changes. Try around with this one, it's still quite a bit of damage. Characters with an undodgeable attack have another very simple way to confirm a punch. On a blocked Cent heavy, the teammate can throw out the undodgeable attack and lock the person down long enough for a knockdown punch. Not very stylish, feeds quite a bit of revenge, but it's some solid damage. And now for probably the most unhealthy ones of them all. Team Deflects. I've made a video about this topic back in December 2018. It fell a little out of style, but now that Centurion is a viable pick, they are resurfacing. But this is not something limited to Cent, every character can initiate it. It's just easier with good hitboxes, which Centurion sidelights offer. Why do I say they're unhealthy? Well, because some of them simply offer no counterplay except for running away. There is no chance to avoid a Zerker's team deflect. The GB has insane range, and once you're caught, you're dead. The other gank with long range is Gladiators. I've shown both the Zerk and the Glad version of this from GBs already. In each of these cases, those came from actions that were punished, aka you got a GB from an error from your opponent. But with team deflects, there is no error. There's no wrong move that was made that got punished. You simply were too close. And I use the term close very loosely here. These ganks are possible with other deflects as well. Orochi has one with his heavy as well as light deflect. But in his case, the range is severely limited. You can outspace it to a degree. And his heavy deflect also has counterplay, as the heavy to confirm the deflect is parryable. We tested Shaman and PK as well, but their hit stun is just a tad too short to confirm the pin. The parry timing is extremely small, but it's possible. They're also a little harder to pull off, similar to Orochi's, as the Centurion needs to chain his deflected light into an unblockable heavy straight away, otherwise a pin becomes impossible. Ubisoft officially hasn't said anything in regards to it, but in general, let's be honest, 100 to 0 ganks are already quite frustrating. 100 to 0 ganks, which you cannot avoid, are probably even worse, and simply from a balance perspective, not something that should be fostered by the developing team. Granted, the vast majority of players will never experience any of these team deflect ganks. It doesn't mean they aren't objectively a problem. Oh, this isn't affecting me, so I don't care. That seems like a common stance many people take when it comes to balance. A rather weak stance, if you ask me. Alright, let's call it here. The video's gotten quite long already, and I'm sure others have discovered even more ganks. Thanks to everyone who helped testing, talked to me about it, and or performs these moves in game. Let me know if there are any more questions. You can just contact me in Discord. A link to it is in the video description. Should they be interested in more videos of this kind, let me know and subscribe so you don't miss them. Having said that, I hope the video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Laters everybody.